Thank you. Thank you, Can Corley. I welcome this bill. I welcome this discussion, and I think the collegiate way in which we are responding to it this evening. Christmas is fast approaching, and I think for all of us this will be a different kind of Christmas for the reasons we know, but while it may be different, I think for the vast majority of us it will still be a joyous occasion. And I think everybody here is acutely aware that for many people this can be a time of additional fear and dread. We know that the domestic violence services are anticipating a peak in demand in the run-up to Christmas, because while we may be thinking about how we can hide our presence for our loved ones, there are many people who are hiding emotional, physical, psychological and indeed financial abuse at the very hands of those who are supposed to be their loved ones. They're completely isolated from their family, their friends, their abusive partner, and it is this type of abuse, this type of violence that we want to prevent, to provide the supports for victims, and it is something that I have personally prioritised, and I do want to do more, and I want to work with every person in this House, including Minister O'Gorman and other colleagues, to do that. We're committed to working collaboratively, but not just with colleagues in government, across the community and voluntary sector, with partners, to ensure that our response is based on prevention, it's based on support, and that it's underpinned by a robust legal system, one that supports victims. This government is determined to deliver on all elements of support, be it practical, physical, emotional and indeed legal. At the same time, we have to ensure that perpetrators know that we will not stop until they are brought to justice. We have made a number of commitments and we intend to keep to them, commitments in the programme for government around the provision of paid leave, providing that financial support for those who cannot work because of domestic violence, and I welcome the Minister's response this evening, commitments around social protection support, some of which Deputy Cairns has outlined already. The programme for government commits to the independent audit of how services for victims of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence are segmented across the government agencies, and it is important that we do this, because this audit will, I hope, help us to build a more comprehensive and a more efficient system for ensuring that anyone facing domestic abuse can access that high-quality support. And the audit will be completed next March, and I can assure deputies that we will collectively act on it. Our third national strategy on domestic, sexual and gender-based violence will also be developed before the end of 2021, and of course we are conducting a review of the implementation of the second strategy so far to make sure that nothing is left behind. Education and awareness are also key to ensuring victims know where and how to access supports and to changing societal needs. My own department is running a number of campaigns, and we're also working on a national consent campaign to be launched next year. And Deputy O'Riordan talked about Women's Aid, and Sarah Benson talking about a particular piece of research recently, which I was asked when she announced, and it is frightening to see the statistics, particularly among our younger people, and the amount of violence that is already there in some of the younger relationships. So it's important that we focus on consent and that we talk to younger people at a much earlier age. We also know that raising awareness through campaigns like the Still Here, the No Excuses campaign, leads to increased calls for support services. But of course, when an individual, be it a woman or a man, takes the brave step to actually seek help, we need to be there. We need to make sure the services and the supports are there for them. And again, I welcome Minister O'Gorman's commitment in this regard this evening in the area of domestic violence leave. Ensuring high standards of support services for victims of crime throughout the state. This is provided for in Supporting a Victim's Journey, the plan that I recently published to help victims and vulnerable witnesses in sexual violence cases. As part of this plan, we also are going to map a victim's journey, examine how we can broaden our grant system. The implementation of the plan is a decisive step forward in ensuring our legal and criminal justice systems are victim-centred. I know we have work to do, but we have implementation meetings happening this week with all of the agencies, with the community and voluntary sectors, to make sure that this work is done and that we don't just publish reports, that we actually implement the recommendations. When implemented, I hope they will also encourage victims to come forward, reassured in the knowledge that they will be supported, that they will be listened to, informed and treated respectfully throughout the entire process. Supporting a Victim's Journey also provides for specific training for Garda Síochána, for the judiciary, the lawyers, so that they can better understand a victim's perspective, but most importantly their needs. Finally, just to say, next week we will hopefully pass the Harassment and Harmful Communications and Related Offences Bill, which I intend to refer to as Coco's Law. Many of us are very much aware of the tragic case of Nicole Fox-Fell and the tireless work of her mother Jackie, and she has campaigned for years to honour her daughter's memory, to strengthen the law so that others can be safer. It will prevent the sharing of intimate images without consent, regardless of the motivation for doing so. This is abuse. It should be stopped, and I thank all deputies for their cooperation in the assistance of passing this through the House as quickly as possible. Finally, Count Corlea, I truly believe that this government will put in place systems and structures needed to deliver on our commitment to stamp out the scourge of domestic violence. We're working on many policies in this area, and I look forward to working with all deputies in this House and in the Seanad to bring about much needed change and reform in this area.
Very much, Minister.